This is Defiance Daily Dispatches for the Defiant. I am your host, Miles Taylor. We have a lot to talk about today. Before we talk about any of it, I am again going to be joined today by my guest co-host, Maritza Georgiou from the Grounded podcast on Substack. And today, all these things we're going to talk about, we're going to try to put them to former Senator Jon Tester. I don't know if he's going to be on a tractor or not on a tractor, but I am told that that's possible. So if anything, stay with us to find out, is Jon Tester actually able to drive a tractor? We're going to talk about that today. We might also talk about the important things, like the fact that it was just revealed that Donald Trump has been telling his staff he's going to pardon them. That's right, mass pardons for the people within 100 feet of Donald Trump. Or, as some of the reporting indicates, he said anyone who's come within 10 feet of him is subject to the pardon. So I guess people are going to be measuring how close was I to Donald Trump to determine if they're going to get a pardon. We're going to talk about that today. We're also going to talk about that story that came up yesterday with Melania Trump. Remember how she came out and did this surprise press conference? Well, that story just got a lot weirder. We're going to talk about that today, as well as the MAGA humiliations of the week, up to and including the people who so ingratiated themselves with Donald Trump that they are our nominees this week for what we call the Soulmate Award, the people who win a pair of Donald Trump's favorite shoes for being his best supplicants. We're going to tell you who the nominees are, and then we're going to find out later in the program who wins the award this week. But we start today talking about the pardon power, because there's new reporting out of the Wall Street Journal that Donald Trump is telling people behind closed doors something special about what he'll do before he leaves office. According to the Journal's Josh Dawsey, Trump has repeatedly told aides and senior officials that he plans to issue sweeping pardons across his administration. In one meeting, Donald Trump put it this way, quote, "I will pardon everyone who has come within 200 feet of the Oval." A line that, according to people in the room, got laughs, but is something he's continued to repeat since then. And it's not limited to one setting. The reporting is based on multiple people who have heard these conversations, some of whom say Trump brings up pardons regularly, especially when discussions turn to potential investigations or legal exposure tied to decisions being made right now. In another conversation with advisors, he even floated the idea of holding a press conference before leaving office to announce a wave of mass pardons. Now, remember, Donald Trump has already issued around 1,600 pardons this term, many going to allies, donors, or people with direct connections to him, often after personal interactions or requests. Former Justice Department officials warned that repeatedly raising the idea of pardons like this can have a very real impact, shaping how people operate inside the administration, especially if they believe protection is already being promised for illegal conduct. One former pardon attorney put it this way: it signals an intent to, quote, bail out those who carry out his agenda faithfully. But isn't that just the point? I want to bring into the conversation my co-host, Maritza. Maritza, I got to say, when this story broke, it felt all too familiar. I'm pretty sure I was the first person to go out there and disclose that the president had offered him a pardon to do something illegal. It seems to be a trend that has continued since that time. That was March of 2019 that I stood in the sand at the southern border and the president said, look, if you go to jail for doing this thing I want you to do, I'll pardon you, which to me seemed like a completely corrupt, if not criminal thing to do, is to offer to use the pardon power in exchange for illegal conduct. I, of course, didn't do what the president wanted, but this seems to be his MO now.
Yeah, I mean, paging Liz Oyer, I would love to hear what she's saying about this story. Good news, though, I didn't see any statute of limitations on when you had to be within 200 feet of the Oval. So, Miles, maybe it means you're going to get a pardon. Yeah. That's kind of what I was thinking. Like, this
That's
is good.
Right.
This is Miles Taylor.
That's right. Maybe I'll get some upside out of this.
You know, I just, like, what does this tell us, right, about the confidence that this administration has about the legality of what they're doing? I mean, like already we have several hundreds of legal challenges going against all of the above. You name a department, you name an agency, you name an action, And it seems like we're seeing legal challenges on those. And so what does this say to you about that? And not to mention just the willingness to sell off and give pardons to the highest bidder, as we've seen done, and actually take away the diminishing legal power to help people who actually deserve pardons or who've applied for clemency. So I think this is just, I mean, there's no big surprise here, but it's just another day in Trump 2.0.
Well, I'm going to tell you, for people who can remember the end of the Clinton administration, one of the biggest controversies was, outside of Monica Lewinsky, pardons that he granted at the end, including to donors or people that had supported the Clintons. One was a financier named Mark Rich. That remained a controversy long after Bill Clinton left office. So Donald Trump may think he's got unfettered ability to make presidential pardons, but I'll tell you what he is not allowed to do. He's not allowed to give out pardons in exchange for personal benefit. That's just illegal. That would be corruption. That would be a high crime and misdemeanor. And even if he does all of this before he leaves office and feels like he's wrapped in the cloak of presidential immunity, I can promise you, Maritza, that the political opposition in this country is going to investigate Donald Trump when they are no longer the opposition, because so many of these pardons smack of corruption. That's not why the pardon power exists. It doesn't exist to be a pocket way for the president to make profit. That is illegal. You can't go sell a pardon for $1 million. Not saying Donald Trump did that, but I am saying there's a lot of indicators that there were quid pro quos here. I mean, there are lobbying firms in Washington, D.C. that are making their living now on bringing cases to the president's attention for a pardon. Donald Trump is the most transactional man to have ever held that job. You're telling me he's issued 1,600 pardons out of the good of his heart? My God, this man wears his heartlessness on his sleeve. There is a lot to look into there, and people are going to look into it.
Let's not forget, too, how many of the people he pardoned from January 6th have gone on to commit other crimes. And I do think that there's a complete misunderstanding on how our pardon system works. I mean, I didn't understand a lot of it until I chatted with Liz Oyer the first time. It does not, if you get a presidential pardon, guess what, folks? If you commit a crime in your state, it doesn't apply to state charges. So I think that I think you're right. It just smacks of corruption. And again, like, nothing new here. We've already seen the headlines about this, about people paying to play.
Well, there's more corruption and weirdness to talk about, because there's a story that we touched on yesterday that we want to return to. And before we do, let me just urge folks, if you are joining us today and you are not a subscriber to or follower of Grounded on Substack, please do. Maritza, Jon Tester, they're the greatest team. Sign up, follow them, watch their show. They are incredible. It's great to do a program with them. And if you're joining us and you're not yet a member of Defiance.org, or you're not signed up to get our newsletter at Defiance.org, join us. You can pay to become a member and donate every single month to the real actions we take to protect democracy. 100% of member fees go to protecting democracy, where you can sign up for free to the newsletter and get alerts about things that you can do to protect our country from Donald Trump's abuses of power. But that other story, like I mentioned, that we talked about yesterday, well, the fallout from that story is growing. Melania Trump's surprise Epstein press conference, not so much a press conference because she didn't take questions, but her Epstein statement in front of a podium is continuing to get weirder, because we're now learning that even inside the White House, this caught people off guard. And take a look at this clip from this morning's Fox and Friends.
So, Peter, we don't know why. It looks like the White House was blindsided by this, right?
I don't think blindsided, but it seems like there was not a big plan for the message to change from a wartime message and peace talks in Pakistan to this. And yesterday, all morning, we were getting calls from the afternoon shows that that this statement was going to air during. What's the topic? What's it going to be about? And I was asking in the West Wing, and they said, we don't know. We're not sure. And so it was obviously well planned by the people in the East Wing, but it was a surprise to all of us.
Uh-oh, a surprise. So that gives you a sense of just how unexpected this was, not only for reporters, but for the administration itself. Now, since Melania's press statement, there's been immediate pushback, especially from the people who she directly invoked, because you'll remember she ended her remarks by calling on Epstein's survivors to testify before Congress. That surprised people. Why is Melania Trump coming to the podium and saying she barely knows Epstein, barely knew Ghislaine Maxwell, but by the way, the survivors should have their day on the record in front of Congress? Very unusual. What prompted this? No one knew. But survivors are now rejecting that outright. In a statement from more than a dozen of those Epstein survivors and family members, they said they've already come forward. They've already testified and already taken enormous personal risks to do so. They argue that asking them to do it again shifts the burden back onto them instead of the people in power who still have not released the full record. People, by the way, who work for Melania Trump's husband, Donald Trump, in the executive branch, the people responsible for investigating those crimes who stopped investigating them. So instead of support, what Melania got was direct pushback from the people she said she was allegedly trying to stand with. And now there's new reporting that may help explain why this moment may not be as random as it first appeared. If you'll remember, a few weeks back, we touched on a story of a Trump ally who used his power and influence inside the Trump administration to get the mother of his child deported in order to gain full custody of his son. That man's name was Paolo Zampalli, and the woman he had deported was Amanda Ungaro. I want to pass the story off to my co-host Maritza to walk us through why Amanda's story is coming into focus after Melania's press conference about Epstein.
Yeah,
Maritza,
and
tell us.
Amanda Ungaro's name has already entered the chat. I see Miles in our live Substack because a lot of people are tracking this. So as this name appeared on social media, we were all kind of trying to figure out, what does this mean? What is happening here today? Because there were a lot of tweets coming out. I'm sorry, posts on X. I'll still call them tweets. But this comes from Julie K. Brown. So she's the reporter who you all know if you followed Epstein. She's helped break open this case. She spent years tracking it and the people connected to it. So in her latest reporting, she points to Amanda Ungaro. She's a former model who, as a teenager, actually flew to New York on Jeffrey Epstein's private plane. She later became part of that same modeling world that surrounded him. Now, she said she was 17 years old at the time, surrounded by dozens of other young girls on that flight. She described feeling immediate discomfort, sensing something was wrong, even if she didn't really fully understand it at the time. And then she later entered into a long-term relationship with Paolo Zampalli. So he's that longtime Trump ally. He's been closely tied both to Trump and Epstein. So here's where this timeline gets really interesting. According to Brown's reporting, and we verified this on Twitter, on X, just one day before Melania's surprise statement that caught the entire White House press corps off guard, Ungaro began posting publicly on Twitter, and she started threatening to expose what she described as a corrupt system and signaling she was willing to come forward. So she made these following posts. Here's the one on your screen. This is tagging Pam Bondi. Are you already aware of the situation? Do you fully understand the extent of the information I possess regarding you and the individuals associated with you? I strongly advise you to consider the seriousness of these matters. Any actions taken against me or attempts to escalate the situation could have significant legal consequences. I expect this to be handled with the appropriate level of responsibility and professionalism moving forward. So that was addressed, tagged Pam Bondi, the now former Attorney General. Then she went to Melania's archive account, the Flotus 45 account, and she started responding to old posts on that. Here's one here that says, I will take legal action against you and your pedophile husband. I've known you for 20 years. You knew I was detained in ICE. You were present in my life. Every year on my son's birthday, even sending Secret Service and being the first to congratulate him back in 2016. Something was clearly wrong, she says, but I am not part of any evil mission involving children. So what did you do, Melania? You tried to involve me, but you failed because I have character. So then at midnight, just hours before that presser, that surprise presser in the White House, where I will mention that Melania Trump stood in front of the presidential seal, she wrote, "I will tear down your corrupt system. Even if it's the last thing I do in my life, I will go all the way. I am not afraid. Maybe you should be afraid of what I know, of who you are and who your husband is." So these posts, Miles, they are circulating around the internet, on Substack, on social media. To be clear, there's no confirmed link tying these posts to Melania's decision to speak, but the timing here, you just can't ignore the timing. It makes a lot more sense to say, well, why would Melania do this all of a sudden when they've been, successful in getting the attention off of Epstein, right? With what's happening in Iran. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, she comes out and says all of this. And now today, Zampoli is stepping in and he's saying, okay, hey, guess what, guys? I'm going to testify under oath that he, not Jeffrey Epstein, was the one who introduced Donald Trump to Melania. So here he is. He called into a podcast earlier today.
Hang on. No, he's trying to call me now. Okay, I'm live on the podcast. Hi, Paolo. How are you? I'm actually in the middle of recording our podcast.
Let's do it. Come on.
Tell me, first of all, what your reaction was when you saw the First Lady's statement.
The First Lady stands out for the people. And of course, she has nothing to do with this, whatever criminal like this. I'm ready to testify in front of Congress if I'm asked and say the truth, because this is totally nonsense.
So you're willing to testify in front of Congress to prove that you were the person that introduced Melania to Donald Trump?
As an American citizen, I'm here to say the truth without any problem.
Fascinating. Paolo, thank you very much. Paolo Zampoli. We'll speak soon. Oh, he's gone. There you go.
Okay, so you have this survivor, Epstein survivor, connected to the world, making public threats here on Twitter. You have a key Trump ally moving forward, saying he was willing to testify before Congress about this. And then we have that surprise statement, that 6-minute statement from the First Lady that even the White House apparently wasn't ready or prepared for. One thing, too, that I think is important to mention here, Miles, I'm a devout reader of Heather Cox Richardson's daily letters, and she mentioned something that I thought was really interesting. And I did notice this. And hey, I don't knock anybody whose English is a second language to them, because they do better than I do. But I did notice the First Lady mixed up quite a few words, and Heather Cox Richardson made the point of, well, of course she didn't write it. She wouldn't put words in that she wouldn't naturally use in a sentence if she didn't know how to pronounce them correctly or use the right word in that context. So I thought that was really interesting. Certainly so much to watch here. There's not a lot that has been substantiated, but there is a lot of drama. I feel like sand through the hourglass. These are the days of our lives, and we're watching it play out on Twitter, of all places, of course, where all the drama is.
I barely have words on this one. Guys, I know a thing or two about communications, and I would just say, if you're not guilty of something, none of this is the way you handle yourself. What Melania said, what Melania did, Donald Trump spontaneously calling an MS Now reporter and saying, I had no idea she was going to do this. Zampoli calling in, to a podcast. This is weird, man. Everything about this is weird. This is not how you behave if you're innocent and there's nothing you've done wrong. In fact, you said it yesterday. You nodded to Shakespeare, the lady doth protest too much, that famous phrase that the more that you're saying, I'm not guilty, I didn't do it, I'm not guilty, I didn't do it, the more guilty you seem.
When nobody's talking about it. Like you go out and you say, I'm not guilty, I didn't do it, when nobody was talking about you that day. Well, apparently somebody was talking about you that day, right? It was Amanda Ungaro. Yeah, and I think that it is just all truly so bizarre. And then CNN did report that the president did have some kind of heads up, but who knows?
Yeah, well, Donald Trump, we don't usually count on him for the accurate conveyance of information, but I've got to say, I'm sure that news organizations right now are burning down Amanda Ngaro's social media, her cell phone. They're trying to dig deeper into the story. And just judging by the messages she put out there, I don't know the woman. I know very little about her. Doesn't seem like she's going to hold these things at bay. I would suspect, if she's making these threats, that we're going to hear something else about this.
In one of them, she said, "I have nothing to lose." Basically, they've deported her, and she's been away from her son, and she's ready to burn it down. I think that it is interesting, though, as we were kind of looking at these today and trying to figure out like what is going on. One of them that we all kind of were chatting about was deleted, but then the others stayed up. So I don't know what is going on, but let's not forget who owns X.
Let's not forget who owns X. Wow. Let's stay on this one. I think we should have our friend Julie K. Brown on, because she, of course, surfaced this one in a big way today. We'll shoot Julie a note and would love to have her onto the program next week to talk about this and see where it goes. And look, if there's something corrupt happening here, well, you can bet somewhere in the White House, someone's trying to figure out how do we make Amanda's life better so that this bad information, whatever it is, doesn't come out. Let's see what happens. I also have another guest that I see in the green room that's joined us, Maritza. Should we ask that guest everything he knows about Jeffrey Epstein?
Oh, yeah. I bet he knows a ton.
There he is. Former Senator Jon Tester. Where is he headed?
Are you driving?
I'm headed to boat.
Oh, my gosh. He doesn't even have service.
So here's the deal, guys. You know, you guys have been talking about this year.
Oh, Senator.
I think we barely have you.
We can't even hear you, Senator. I know that. So he corrected me. We'll let him get a signal back. Is it back? He corrected me because yesterday he heard us talking about how he's going to be in the tractor. He said, no, that's on Thursday. On Friday, I got to drive to Bozeman. So he's driving to Bozeman. Can you hear us, Senator? Do you have service? Oh, boy.
I don't think he does, but he looks cool. Look, he's got shades on. He's just rolling down the street to Bozeman. He's just like living the rural life. He's doing post-senatorial life just fine. He has proven to all of those coward-ass Republican members in the Senate that you don't have to lick Donald Trump's boots, which we'll talk about later. You don't have to lick those boots to have a life after Congress. You can actually stand up and tell the truth and go on to wear cool sunglasses.
And he's like healthy now. He's not, he's still traveling a lot because of his other gigs, but he, I think his quality of life is much better. I think he will say that any day. And he'll tell you that farming's the best job he's ever had. So it's not the U.S. Senate, but
I love that.
Yeah, we'll see if we can get him back. If we can get him back, it's just listen. We have much to some people's chagrin, and to really go against any stereotypes about Montana. We do have Wi-Fi in Montana, but
we believe you.
We don't have great cell phone service across the entire state. So
sure, yeah, whatever it is, but great Wi-Fi. Just so folks know, when we were in the green room earlier, Maritza looked like a 1994 video game, fully pixelated, and said something like, "Don't worry, I'm going to plug the hard line in, and we're going to pull a satellite up in front of the thing, and yeah."
It's just the price you pay.
We'll see if we can get a recurring segment of like maybe Fridays on the farm. Maybe we can have you guys join us for Fridays on the farm. Up in Montana.
I think it'd be great. Like that's what we do. And we're in April, A months. Jon is either on a tractor or a combine. So the A months, you're very likely to find him in some kind of farm equipment while we're doing our show, which means that he's holding his phone like this or like up to his ears so you can see his ear hair and his nose hair.
Great. And I love that. This is as all of our parents and grandparents know, this is the only angle from which you can communicate. You have to talk to people like this on mobile devices.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, that's right.
Too good. Well, I also suspect we probably could fix 90% of the problems in Washington if we just sent members of Congress at least for a month every year out to the farm to work together. So maybe that's something we should work on.
You know, we actually have a guy who's worked in government here for a long time, and he started this thing before each legislative session where he actually gets a bipartisan group of incoming lawmakers, and they literally make sausage together. They literally stuff sausage, and you can see how the sausage is made. and they work together on it. So, I mean, you know, anything where we get bipartisan cooperation and ending this insanity is good for me.
Well, I will say, and you've seen this as well, Maritza, that the one thing I felt like made Capitol Hill bearable was congressional delegations. Now, it may sound like one of the icky things about Capitol Hill, right? All the money that gets spent for members of Congress to fly different places around the world and do these what are called CODELs, congressional delegations. But those trips that members of Congress take together tended to be the source of most good legislation, because members of Congress really don't go out to dinner anymore with each other. They don't live in shared housing anymore like a lot of them used to. They just go their separate ways and they don't socialize. But when they're on these congressional delegations, you know, going to look at a military base in Italy or going to examine, you know, healthcare, you know, tariffs somewhere, they spend time together. And on those flights, they come up with ideas, they develop relationships. I'd even say probably 3/4 of the bills that we drafted in my time on Capitol Hill had some sort of nexus and genesis to a relationship or a bond that was built on a congressional delegation. We just need to get these people spending more time together, which makes sense when you humanize the other side of the aisle.
100%.
But it gets kind of hard to demonize them.
100%. And like one of my favorite things to do is if we're waiting on a vote or something, I love watching the Senate floor and seeing who crosses over and chats with each other. I mean, it happens. There are friendships. It's just that it's gotten so extreme. And then somebody told me, you know, when they were a kid and their father was a representative, everyone lived in DC. I mean, this like going back home to your district was not commonplace every single week. And now it's just like these two separate lives. So there's a lot we could do to restore bipartisanship. We could also get rid of social media, certain accounts.
we could get rid of all of those things, but until we do, we're going to continue to point out the MAGA humiliations of the week.
I'm sorry, John, couldn't join us for this. I'm sorry. He said he's got bad service. So
that sounds so not like Montana. It doesn't. That seems so out of the ordinary. Well, there are a few, Maritza, that we should highlight this week. A few different things that for Donald Trump's authoritarian loving MAGA movement didn't go exactly as planned. And that means we're going to kick off a new segment that I think we're going to do every Friday called the Top MAGA Fails of the Week. And I want to start with one that we didn't cover in our reporting this week, but which we could not move into next week without mentioning, and that is the White House's brand new news app. Because just 2 weeks ago, the White House rolled out a way for supporters to get direct access to Donald Trump and his messaging, something he promoted heavily as a front row seat to his presidency. But almost immediately, cybersecurity experts started to raise alarm bells because reviews of the app's code found that it was quietly sharing user data, including IP addresses and device information and other data from people's phones with third-party services, all without disclosing that to users. In fact, researchers who looked at it said they were shocked by how exposed the system was, especially at a time when the U.S. is already facing heightened cyber threats. And the most basic issue? Well, apparently the app's own privacy disclosures suggested it wasn't collecting data at all, even though it clearly was. All sorts of data. In fact, some researchers put maps out there showing the location data that was being collected and additional exploits that could be used to target your device if you downloaded the White House app. In fact, It was a cybersecurity Trojan horse nightmare. So instead of controlled messaging that the White House wanted to share, that rollout turned into a warning about cybersecurity risks tied directly to the White House itself. That was an ugly MAGA fail. Next, we go to outer space. Because in a moment that quickly went viral, the crew of NASA's Artemis II mission got a call from Donald Trump following their lunar flyby. What followed was not exactly a warm reception. I want to bring Maritza back in here with me to share in the discomfort. Welcome back, Maritza. Are you ready for this one?
I love discomfort. Let's do it.
Okay, let's get uncomfortable.
Proud to be a part of this program.
Well, I have to say I spoke to a very special person, Wayne Gretzky, who I think you know, the great one. And I spoke to your prime minister and many other friends I have in Canada. They are so proud of you. And you have a lot of courage. I'm not sure if they'd want to do that. I'm not even sure if the great one would want to do that, to be honest with you. But you have a lot of courage doing what you're doing, a lot of bravery and a lot of genius. But they're very, very proud of you.
Oh, it just goes on. It just goes on and on. Like, yep. We're just going to keep playing with a microphone. Oh, this is very uncomfortable. Yes. Oh, how long are they going to sit on them? This is awful.
Oh my gosh, this is so good.
Oh, this is so painful.
Administrator Alex, I'm going to just get a quick comm check, make sure you guys are still on the line and we didn't have a handover.
I am. Yes, I am.
That's too good. That's too good. Maritza, I don't want to think that it takes a long time to communicate in space. I just want to think that they didn't want to talk to the president.
Well, I mean, that's a plausible explanation. I don't know. It just like it makes me feel so much better about all the times I see somebody across the room and wave and they don't see me and I feel so stupid, right? Like this is awful.
I love that Donald Trump sat there the entire time. And then at the end you hear him say, "Yeah, I'm still here." He just sat there the entire time as they're pushing the microphone. I think that's going to get memeified real soon, folks, if it hasn't already. That probably becomes a super meme.
Right. She just like pushes the microphone away. They watch it spin. They're laughing. I mean, nobody there was eager to respond to that. Could I go back to your first story, though?
Please.
I am shocked. That the people behind Truth Social, with all of the spam clickbait and the signal chat sending out war plans, that they created a news app that's not safe. I am shocked.
You can't believe it. The administration that purged a third of the nation's domestic cybersecurity agency because Trump was mad at them. Unbelievable that they would end up with sort of cyber infiltration and gaps. I also, by the way, I read today that they're ordering the staff of CISA, even though they're not getting paid amidst this shutdown, to come back to work starting Monday. CISA is the Cyber and Infrastructure Security Agency at DHS that Donald Trump hates, which is interesting because Donald Trump, in his budget that he just dropped, Maritza, proposes gutting CISA, basically saying it's not important, we don't need it anymore. But his administration just said it was a national emergency and they all need to return to work. So which is it? Do we need these cyber defenders or do we not need these cyber defenders?
Well, I'm sure they can, what was his name? Big Balls? I'm sure they could call Big Balls and see
we could bring him back. Yeah.
What he thinks
Yeah, we put him in charge of all of it. It sounds like Big Ball's colleague put all of our social security information on a thumb drive. So thanks for that. Super cyber professionals over there.
Oof.
Well, the third one today, Maritza, is a store. I don't know if you heard about this one, a store dedicated entirely to Donald Trump merchandise in Crystal Lake, Illinois, that has been forced to shut down, with the owner blaming a sharp drop in sales tied directly to the war in Iran. If no other polling shows it, people will vote with their wallets and they will tell you how they feel. She said business fell off almost immediately after the strikes began, describing it in a Facebook post as, quote, dead as a doornail, with even longtime supporters hesitant to publicly show their support. With all the added attention, the owner has since vowed to reopen, but if someone wants to reopen a business they once called dead as a doornail, who are we to advise otherwise? Good luck to the owner of that store in Crystal Lake. This is interesting, Maritza, because I also saw this last night on social media. I saw Tim Pool, who, podcaster that had been a Trump supporter, and the guy at the Daily Wire who made that video. He's got a beard. He made that documentary. Matt, what's his face? I forget his last name. I saw the two of them going back and forth on social media about how right-wing influencers are scared to even post anything supportive of the administration right now. That it's gotten so embarrassing that people who post GOP content have either reverted to basic platitudes about the war, or they've just started to post what I think Tim Pool called general content. In other words, like posting about culture issues or posting memes. They're literally scared to associate with the president now. That's how bad it's getting. I mean, I know that the mainstream media is starting to cover this, is starting to cover the Megyn Kellys and the Joe Rogans and the Marjorie Taylor Greens and how big this defection is. I don't think they realize how deep this goes. People are scared to wear the merch. They're scared to talk about them on social media. I think the New York Times did an analysis of comments on Truth Social, and I think they found 3/4 of the comments in Donald Trump's posts were either unsupportive or negative or neutral. It's there has been a complete vibe shift within the MAGA movement that's still underreported.
Oh, I completely agree. I mean, I saw this even before we attacked Iran. I saw this when I went to Social Circle, Georgia in February, and I noticed coming in, I mean, this is Trump country, right? And that town voted for Trump, I think 73%. And there were all kinds of signs in yards that were for the representative there, Representative Collins. But I saw no MAGA signs or Donald Trump signs, which I thought was fascinating. So we are starting to see it slip. And I think people just don't know what to expect next from him. I mean, we're used, as Megyn Kelly said, we're used to the incendiary posts, but it's reached a whole new level. I mean, threatening to wipe out a whole civilization. And then I read earlier that Jamie Raskin is formally asking the White House doctor to do a cognitive exam because of the posts and because of that clip we played earlier this week of, Trump talking next to the Easter Bunny and to the kids about Joe Biden's auto pen. So I think everyone's kind of wondering, what's going on? Hey, though, I do need to see. I saw that Xander's here watching. Yeah.
So our guest today on Weekend Update is MAGA loyalist and diehard Xander Schultz, who has spent a lot of his career really just lauding Donald Trump and supporting the MAGA movement. Xander, tell us what the view is like from there inside MAGA world.
No, Mercedes, bring us all back on screen, please.
Why is half of your face on the screen?
I'm back from vacation. Nothing works.
I also like this. Look at our descending heights right now.
Miles Taylor, are you seeing other co-hosts?
Wait,
we're trying to just shorten ourselves to your height. What are you even doing?
I feel so bad because I just ruined it. Like, we weren't supposed to come to you for a while, Xander, but I saw your name and everyone's freaking out in the chat. And I was like, whoa, we need to address the Xander's here. Hi. Like, I'm sorry. Mercedes, I'm sorry. I failed.
It's all right.
Fire me.
I was going to try to announce today that Xander had quit the organization. Ugh.
I heard can you all hear me?
Yeah.
I heard the MAGA successor was up for grabs, that someone's gonna get the throne, and I thought about throwing myself into the ring. So I'm leaving now, try to grab the MAGA baton from JD and Tucker. I think Tucker's out now. We'll see how it goes. How's it been with other co-hosts? Let's make this awkward, Miles. How's it been?
Well,
do you like her more just because she's more articulate, has a better following?
There's more than that. That can't be the end of the list, right?
Yeah, I'm less interested in your answer. Maritza, what do you think? How is it tag teaming with this guy? Is it fun? Is it hard to deal with?
It's been really fun. And at the very beginning of the week, Xander, I mean, I'm home now in Montana, but I was on vacation and I said, yeah, I'll join. You know, I feel like I'm happy to join. And somebody said, how sad is it that Xander won't join, but Maritza will? And I said, no, how sad is it that I will join on vacation because I have nothing better to do? I hope you were, I hope you had a great birthday. I hope you're rested. I hope you took a break from these insane headlines because everyone deserves that.
Yeah, I can't tell though if it is more of a break dealing with a toddler all day versus just
yeah.
Actually, it might be more energy.
A classic parent vacation. A parent vacation when you're like, "Ooh, can't wait to get back to work."
yeah. A sick toddler 3 days in a row was something, but it was good. It was great, honestly. I went with my childhood best friend. We've been best buddies since we were 13 years old. So we both have families now, and it's a totally different life stage.
You were with your childhood best friend. Maritza, weren't you with your childhood best friend in Hawaii?
I was. My childhood best friend lives in Hawaii, and we've been best friends since we were 4. And I was at her. Yeah.
I barely know the guy in retrospect.
Man. My childhood best friend stole my high school girlfriend, so I don't talk to him anymore.
They're out.
Yeah. I'm looking at you, Greg.
Are
you
they
know what?
together?
Forgiveness.
I think they're very, very happy. I think they're very, very happy.
A wise sage told me forgiveness is really for yourself, Miles. So if you can let that go and let that wound heal internally.
You know what my way of getting back at him, a wonderful guy, by the way, and saved me from a terrible relationship. My way of getting back at him, I think I told Xander this before, randomly, the name I use if I'm using another name to book a hotel room just so for security reasons is I'll use this guy's name. I'll use this guy who stole my high school girlfriend's name. I'll use that for booking. Yeah. Now creeps are gonna go look that up. I can't use that name anymore. So I'm just gonna have to use Xander Schultz.
Close. You gotta go to a Disney character.
Yeah. I think I'm gonna use Melania Trump. Okay, well, we have Xander here for a great part of the program. This is perfect. There are 3 of us, and there are 3 nominees this week for the Donald J. Trump Soulmate Award. If you've never seen us issue this award, folks, the genesis of this award was the news reporting last month that Donald Trump has a favorite pair of shoes, a company called Florsheim out of Chicago that produces these $145 pair of black Oxfords. And Donald Trump apparently gives them to his staff and to his advisors and to loyalists with the expectation that they will wear his shoes around him, even if he has awarded them a size that doesn't fit, just like Marco Rubio, who was spotted in January marching around Capitol Hill in black Oxfords that apparently seemed to be too big for his feet. We thought this was remarkable. We thought this was symbolic, and we felt like nothing shows how willing people are to sacrifice their principles and their character for Donald Trump than the fact that they'll wear floppy shoes around town just to please him. And so we announced the Donald J. Trump Soulmate Award. And in a week filled with war and economic strain and mounting pressure, our nominees for the award they went above and beyond to spin and deflect and carry the water for Donald Trump. So let's get into it. The first nominee we have this week, folks, is Representative Chris Smith. During a brief pro forma session, House Democrats attempted to pass a war powers resolution by unanimous consent. an effort to rein in Donald Trump as he drags us deeper into war with Iran, as he threatens genocide, as the White House says nuclear weapons are not off the table. This was an important moment. But as acting Speaker pro tempore in the House, Representative Chris Smith gavelled the session closed, refusing to recognize Representative Glenn Ivey, who was seeking to come to the floor to introduce and advance this resolution. And he wielded that gavel like a new toy. Take a look.
Pursuant to Clause 13 of Rule 1, the House stays adjourned until 2:30 p.m. on Monday, April 13th, 2026.
Great gavel, though. Incredible form on the gavel.
Yeah, there's democracy right there. You want to rein the president in on Iran? You can't handle the truth.
Yeah, that's what they say.
Yeah, there you go.
You want democracy, but in very short windows of time. If you miss
that's a guy really looking to try to make Donald Trump happy. Look how hard I slammed that thing down, sir. I love you, sir, like Todd Blanche says. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he definitely practiced that. Okay, so next.
All right, so who's next?
As the MAGA world continues to fracture, as we've seen, as we've shown you this week, from Megyn Kelly to Tucker Carlson to Alex Jones, not everyone is ready to jump ship. Some are still holding on tight. They're willing to stab their former MAGA compatriots on their way out. So let's enter into the conversation. Laura Loomer.
The president has had enough of Tucker shit. And yeah, I'm just going to admit it. I sent the president Tucker Carlson's clip so he can see the shit that he says about him. I do. And I want that motherfucker Tucker Carlson to know that I'm the one who knifed him from the front. I want him to know. I'm not talking about physical violence, physical knifing, but yeah, I'm the one that sent the president all your shit, Tucker, because he deserves to see the fact that you are lying about him and you are smearing him and you are saying the most vile things about our country and our president, and you are creating so much chaos. You're going to cause the Democrats to take the House and the Senate, and you are endangering our national security by whitewashing this barbaric death cult ideology known as Islam.
That's a lot to take in. I've never heard Laura Loomer actually in a clip. That was intense. How long is her content? How is it an hour of that energy? Like, that's a lot to take in.
She's a lot.
She goes live like that all the time.
I've
seen her I follow her on Twitter. I've seen her tweets. I've just never seen her in. That's a lot to take on.
When was it ever a winning argument to say, I was the one that tattled on you? Like, has that ever made you cooler? Hey, guess who tattled on you? I tattled on you to the president.
She's got to keep her loyalty in check. She needs the president to know that she is his ride or die. She's his ride or die. I didn't know.
Seems like she really wanted that pair of shoes. She
she'll get a pair. Laura will get a pair.
She probably already has some.
Maybe she does today. We're gonna find out who the winner was. She clearly wants to win the award this week. By the way, folks, we send them these shoes. If this is your first time tuning in, Scott Jennings, who was our first award winner 2 weeks ago, received a pair in the mail at CNN headquarters. We haven't heard from Scott yet. We haven't received a thank you for that pair of shoes. Senator Lindsey Graham also received a pair of shoes. These are going to take a little longer to get to him because they'll be going through Senate screening. We fully expect to receive a thank you from Lindsey Graham because he so badly wanted these shoes. But we've got one more nominee before we announce who gets the shoes this week. Xander, who's the third nominee?
Well, and finally, we have Kevin Hassett, who went on Fox Business to try and spin a 3.3% inflation report as good news. It went so poorly that even the host, Stuart Varney, had to acknowledge the distortion of reality. Take a look.
2.5% productivity growth, and then say, well, maybe we get 1.5 out of capital spending and maybe half or 1 out of labor, then the supply side of the economy is crying out for, numbers north of 3.
A fine performance, if I may say. 3.3% inflation, and you smiled all the way through, as you usually do.
Oh man! What a burn! What a burn! And you smiled all the way through.
It's crazy. They're acting like
more cutting with the accent, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I've got you. I've got you.
British have the best passive aggressive burns for sure.
Did you guys see? Did you see Pete Buttigieg on CNBC with Joe Kernan? Did you guys see that yet? Oh man, this one's so great. So Joe Kernan, he's the CNBC host who's always just Joe's going to get a pair of shoes. Trust me, he will win one of these weeks. He's the CNBC host who's always just like snarky, saying stuff about how great Donald Trump is. And Pete Buttigieg was on there and they were talking about inflation. Man, it was so sad because Joe Kernan was like, the president's, he's doing great. And Buttigieg is like, but I mean, didn't he promise to lower inflation? And then you watch as Joe Kernan just unravels. He goes, well, I mean, it's only 3.3%. He's like, yeah, but like that's a 4-year high. Isn't that higher than Trump said? Trump said he was going to lower it. Didn't he raise it? And he's like, I mean, but there's a war. And he's like, yeah, it's a war that he started. I mean, it just gets worse and worse and worse. And you see Joe Kernan trying to be like, but I mean, it's not. Sorry, guys. It was like his biggest promise. I'm going to lower prices. He's done everything possible to raise our damn prices.
Pete Buttigieg is a master, though. He is masterful.
So good.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same as the argument that I kept hearing over and over, like about how DHS can't be in a shutdown because we're in war. Well, DHS was shut down when they started the war. That happened before.
Yeah. He started a war without his defensive team. I've used this analogy a bunch. It would be like you show up at the Super Bowl and you're like, I mean, we didn't bring our defensive team. You can't flip the coin. We can't start the game. We don't have our team. You're like, but you showed up without defense.
You did it.
You showed up without defense. Unreal. All right, well, let's see who the winner is. I think we have a drum roll sound effect. Maybe we do, maybe we don't. Maybe we do, maybe we don't. The winner is... Oh, that means I got to move a lot faster. The symbols of
I was slow too.
Wow.
The winner is Representative Chris Smith. Oh man, there he is. God, look at that little cutie bug there in that shoe, little tiny guy.
There's a nursery rhyme about this. The man who lived in the shoe.
Well, yeah, I mean, Honey, I Shrunk the Republicans is something that someone will probably make at some point here using AI because their consciences have gotten so small that they can fit inside of a Florsheim shoe. Representative Chris Smith, you are our winner this week of the Donald J. Trump Soulmate Award. I would encourage anyone who's following right now, please let Representative Smith know on social media if you don't mind posting in his comments and just letting him know he won. Be boisterous. Don't be mean. Congratulate him. He won the Soulmate Award. There will be a pair of shoes in the mail. I'm sure after it goes through Capitol screening. There we go.
Well, did you try to send Lindsey... Sorry, Miles, I'm interrupting you. Did you try to send Lindsey Graham's shoes to Chef Mickey's at the Contemporary at Disney World?
Oh, that would have been a good idea. We really should have sent them. Yeah. But I suspect he sleeps. I suspect he sleeps in the castle. I should have just sent him to the castle.
If you're hearing this, you still have the opportunity to provide the first acceptance speech for the Soulmate Award.
That is right.
You can beat the other two recipients to the punch if you're quick on it.
I would encourage anyone who's following right now, please also let him know he's invited onto the show. See, we're not scared of debate here at Defiance Daily. Any winner of these shoes is welcome to come on and have a conversation. Lindsey Graham is welcome to come onto the show. Scott Jennings is especially welcome to come onto the show to have a conversation and tell us what it's like to walk around in daddy's shoes. So anyway, we'll see if anyone takes us up on the offer. Please let them know. Please congratulate Representative Chris Smith on winning the Defiance.org Soulmate Award. Now let's take a few questions before we jump and let everyone go enjoy their weekends. Questions from Defiance.org members. Joan St. C asks, I would like to know their thoughts on the DCC telling candidates not to primary their candidates and how to stop them from taking the will of the people. This is an interesting one. We're in that season, folks. We're in that season of primary fights within the Democratic and Republican parties, between sort of the establishment and new candidates surging. Maritza, any thoughts on that? Any thoughts on the DCCC, arguing with folks and trying to get them to support their people?
Well, I just think we need to get back to reality here. We need to get back to what's at stake, and we can't get into party nonsense is what I think. We've seen so much infighting during primary seasons of many years past. And so we gotta stop it. We gotta be positive and just knock any of that primary fighting off, because at the end of the day, there's a general election to focus on, and you can't burn down the candidate who might go on to be running in that general election. That's what I would say.
Xander, what about you? You've got buddies that are running for office right now on the Democratic ticket.
I say the opposite. Let there be blood. I think the Democrats, decided to forego a primary when we got our presidential nominee in 2024, and it was one of the least popular decisions ever. People want. I've been in a voter on the Democratic primary for a while. It's been since 2012 that I feel, or 2008 that I feel like I actually chose a candidate in a competitive race at the national level anyways, right? Obama runs for re-election. It feels like Bernie gets screwed twice trying to face, the party infrastructure with Hillary and Biden. And then you get Biden, even though everyone's saying he's declining, refusing to step out. And then you have, Kamala taking his place without a primary. I think it's bullshit. We should let the people choose. There's so many of these corrupt Democrats in office. No one trusts the Democratic Party at all. I want to turn over as many of these guys as possible. And I think, it's no problem to expose those that are not willing to stand with us. We want fighters in this moment. And so, to the extent that we can allow for a public debate and have I think Americans are feeling differently than they used to. I think, going back previously to the 2020 election, we were kind of reaching for safety in people we knew. And now we know that we need people that are responding to some of the problems that Trump, correctly pointed towards, even though he didn't have fucking solutions for them. So yeah, I think we should have competitive primaries up and down. I think we should have a real honest debate in the public to figure out who's who and select the best candidates. And even if that means they get bloodied along the way, oftentimes that makes you better, makes you figure out where you're weaker. You pick up some of your opponent's policies along the way because you learn, that yours aren't as popular as you thought they were. And then you move into the general.
Well, allow me to be clear. I think competitive primaries are great. Everybody who wants to run for office should be able to run for office. That's the point of our democracy. But what I meant, and I'm sorry, I'm a little tired, folks, because I did a bad flight. But I do think that the purpose of those primaries is to find the best candidate, and you don't have to knife your competitors. I know you want blood, Xander.
That's true. That's true. You don't have to knife them. You can move through a certain spirit. That's for sure. That's for sure true. But I think no one, and we can look at the approval rates. No one wants the Democratic Party and its leadership choosing who emerges from those things. Totally. We have no trust for those institutions at this point, and rightfully so.
I love the Xander "there will be blood" comment on a Friday.
We got spicy coming back from vacation in my dad's
we got another one here from Igor. Igor, I saw this question yesterday, and I'm sorry we didn't get to it. Igor asks, the upcoming California governor jungle primary that might result in 2 Dumppublicans on the ballot and 0 Democrats. Can you guys maybe bring on the California Attorney General Bonta in the next week to discuss? Let me tell folks what's going on here. Here's the short background, and Maritza and Xander, I welcome your comments on this. Things could get a little weird. What is it? April 10th right now. Okay, so California uses this jungle primary system. If you've ever heard of that, it's where all the candidates from all the parties are on the ballot at once. And then regardless of party, the 2 highest vote getters are the ones that appear on the ballot in November, right? So there's no guarantee that a Democrat or a Republican is going to be on the ballot. It's just they're all on the same primary ballot and the 2 highest vote getters. Here's why it could get weird for Democrats. The numbers could get weird for Democrats because there's 8 of them running for governor right now in California, and there's only 2 Republicans that have filed for that primary ballot. Now, that doesn't happen until June 2nd, but here's the issue. In a few days here, I'm pretty sure people can start sending in their mail-in ballots. And so there's this frustration in the Democratic field of who's going to drop out? Because if people don't drop out, you could potentially see the vote split so many ways that it's the two Republicans that get the most votes and are on the ballot, in November. Now, there seems to be conversations, Igor, and I'm sure you've seen this too. There seems to be conversations in Democratic circles that, will result in folks dropping out. Of course, no one wants to signal, I'm the one that's going to drop out, because then you lose your opportunity at the last minute to surge through the polls. But then this got even more complicated today. Before we came onto the program, there were some allegations leveled against Representative Eric Swalwell that are currently expected to shake up that race. So things are getting weird in California. I don't know if we can have the AG on. I mean, we can reach out to Bob's office and see if we can bring the AG in. But jungle primaries are, they're kind of wild. But this is what I will say about jungle primaries, you guys. Jungle primaries help, in some cases, statistically, to reduce partisanship because it makes it easier for the least extreme candidates, the unifying candidates, to get support. At least in theory, that's what jungle primaries are supposed to do.
They're also the most fun-sounding primary. They definitely defeat ranked choice voting as a primary.
It does sound more fun. Who doesn't want to
like a blast? You might get 2 Republicans on your general election ticket, but it's fun. I don't know enough about jungle primaries. Maritza, it goes back to something you said. If I appreciate an experiment where you're trying to incentivize candidates to be kinder and more appropriate with one another. So versus the way most primaries are incentivized, which is like race to the edge of extremism, carve out a path for yourself that beats, the fields divvying up the other 80%. So I understand the incentives behind that. Go ahead, Marisa.
Well, that is why we have the extreme candidates that we have. I have
totally
amazing. I went to this amazing lecture by Danielle Allen, who's a Harvard professor about, she's an expert on democracy. And she was explaining, this was Marjorie Taylor Greene of, years past, of the Marjorie Taylor Greene we're going to tell our grandkids about, when she was explaining that there was such a tiny percentage of voters in Georgia that actually voted for Marjorie Taylor Greene. But because the way the primary system was set up, she advanced to the general, and that's how we get those extreme candidates. But at this point, with what we're seeing and things at stake, I do think that there also needs to be some organization within the Democratic Party. And this is something that most Democrats you talk to will say they're terrible at. And they need to get organized, and they need to get in the room, and they need to say, like, what are we doing, folks? Because we can't botch this. Also, I'll say that how many times I've seen this so many. I live in Montana, where we had a special election, and the night before the special election, our now governor, Greg Gianforte, assaulted a reporter, and people didn't know how to change their vote, and they'd already sent their ballots in, and you couldn't change your vote. And so even if people drop out now, it might not reach those voters. So they should have been doing this. They shouldn't be doing it now. They should have been doing this already, so that people are aware of what's going on.
Well, look, if one thing is true, it's that Xander is right. Jungle primary sounds a lot cooler than ranked choice voting. So
I stand by that.
And we, I think all three of us know some of the, sort of the founders of the ranked choice voting movement. So one thing they didn't do very well was branding, and it's still confusing as hell whenever they explain it. Like, it's done wonders in Alaska to keep crazies from coming into Congress, but man, they have not sold it to people the way they should. Simpler, better communicators. That's what the pro-democracy side needs. Even the term pro-democracy sucks. Let's come up with a better term. Final question I'm going to throw out there to both of you, which is Jenny Bloom asks, thoughts on the Iranian Lego propaganda? I'm not usually inclined to say that autocratic, evil regimes are producing quality propaganda, but I don't know if you guys have seen these videos. If they're designed to go Donald Trump, they have been designed perfectly.
Xander, I've been taking over.
I guess my official stance is I like them. I think they're.
And can you say that? I don't think you can say that. You're an enemy. You're going to prison.
I think they're really good. What I will say is the Democratic Party, pay attention. This is a really good example on how to counter message, how to have content that sticks, that's viral, etc. I don't share it because I haven't crossed that line yet. I don't feel totally comfortable sharing Iranian state media, but I do think it's a brilliant use of AI and other modern tech to message in ways that kind of course through society.
Yeah, I mean, that's a tricky one. I will say, though, I'm a Lego mom. My son loves Lego, and he built me this little dog in a dumpster saying, "This is fine," last year. And I keep it on my desk. And so right away when you said the Lego, I was like, oh, I got to show them this. So I think anything with Lego, I'm inclined to be more in favor of. But propaganda bad. Lego good.
My takeaway here is registered Democrat Xander Schultz making clear that the evil Iranian regime is producing better anti-Trump propaganda than Democratic leaders. Come on, Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries.
Yeah, they should take that personal.
This should be a wake-up call. Someone this week, I can't remember who, I mean, a lot of people probably did, but knocked Chuck Schumer super hard because after Trump's, annihilate civilization social media post, Chuck Schumer wrote something like, "This is very bad and should be condemned." It was like, this is orders of magnitude worse than that. Stop posting. Go actually do something.
Chuck Schumer thinks Legos are a new trendy toy. That's how with the time Chuck Schumer is, dude. I don't think I'm betting on him picking it up.
We need to have that sound effect. We gotta load that thing up.
I got the other one.
Yeah.
Oh, it's off. I got the other one. I thought it was a great joke.
Too good. Well, listen, folks, that has been your episode of Defiance Daily. Again, make sure Representative Chris Smith knows in his social media posts that he is a winner. He's a winner of Donald Trump's shoes. And also, if you didn't get a chance this week, go back and check out our weekly mission brief on Wednesday. There's a great organization we supported this week called the Campaign Legal Center. CLC is taking the lawsuits to Donald Trump's election interference, and we got behind them this week. We are supporting them. We are involved in those efforts to sue the administration over these illegal efforts to try to seize our elections. We've got another announcement coming next Wednesday, so tune in for that weekly mission brief. But friends, we'll be back again before all of that. We'll be back again on Monday. And if you do one thing this weekend when you're on Substack, it's what you see at the bottom of the screen. Go follow our friends at Grounded. Maritza, what do they have to look forward to next week on the Grounded podcast?
I wasn't even ready for that. Thanks, guys. Okay, we are going live with Heather Cox Richardson Monday to talk all things campaign finance and money in politics since that Supreme Court Citizens United decision. So we will be live with Heather Cox Richardson Monday at 5 p.m. Eastern. And then I believe on Thursday, I don't have my calendar and my brain is mushy, but we have Senator Adam Schiff next week. So we have
what a lineup.
And I'm guessing Senator Tester will be in a tractor at some point.
Good. Yeah, good. So definitely 5 p.m. Eastern on Monday during their program. Don't go to their program. Come to this program at 5 p.m. Eastern. It's war. It's war.
Maritza, we want you to know we're the one who stabbed you from the front as a
we set you up to fall. Guess what, everyone? We're boycotting Grounded Podcast Monday at 5 p.m. Eastern. Tell your friends, boycott.
Whoa, you turned on me like Trump turned on Megyn Kelly. Wow.
Gotcha.
That Laura Loomer energy got it.
Yeah. This was all a long play, Maritza, to screw you guys over. This is your resist and unsubscribe notice to everyone. Unfollow the Grounded Podcast as quickly as you
Maritza,
can.
I appreciate you sabotaging your vacation so I could have mine. Honestly, thank you so much for
she was pretty great. Real answer, Xander. She's better at the news. She's better at commentary, but she's not as bro-y as you are, which I find to be something that you're lacking, Maritza. You're not bro-y enough.
Well, my kid and his friends say things like, "Hey, bro." So I'm working on it. Okay, I'm working on it. They call me bro.
Apparently,
We're
if
going
you
to bring
say
them onto the program.
6'7" consecutively and do something like this, that
Nope.
does something.
It's not cool anymore. The kids say
it's
that's
out.
not
It's
cool
out already.
anymore.
Okay,
Yeah.
it's fun. It happens so
Our
fast.
producers on the screen going, no, don't even mention 6'7". We've lost the youth. We've lost
Mercedes
the
is a
youth.
resident cool person, so we have to check in with her on these things.
Mercedes is literally in touch with the zeitgeist in every single quintile of society. She can tell you what like folks in their 80s are loving right now. She can tell you what the kids are loving. I don't even know how she does it. You got to see her algorithm. I bet her TikTok is wild.
I just asked my 10-year-old neighbor. She knows everything. She tells me, I mean, I am not cool anymore. I've learned I am not.
I know it happened so fast. I think it happened over COVID for most of us. I feel like I entered COVID as like a young, exciting professional and like exited just completely out of touch.
I'll tell you, here was the big takeaway of the week, folks, before we let you go and enjoy your weekend. The thing that's uncool officially this week, even in the Republican Party, Donald Trump. Got very uncool, got very cringe. They don't even want to talk about him. As you heard earlier, they don't want to wear his swag anymore. That is good news. Speaking of swag, buy one of these instead of a MAGA cap. Go to defiance.org/swag. You can also wear one of these fun hats. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Maritza, for being on with this week. I suspect that followers of defiance.org will see more of you. We'd be very excited to have you back onto the program. Xander is back with us, back in the chair next week as well. And as we always say, friends, stay loud, stay brave, and stay together. We'll see you on Monday.